Hey everybody, it's Anthony and Tucker here with Land Title. We came to bring you your lender update for the month, so let's just dive right into it.
All right, so February, right? Lot going on. I know we are all talking the lender world, rates, but let's just see what's going on outside of rates because that's important.
Well, especially because if you put it in perspective year over year, they're really similar to where we were a year ago. So better market improvement means that consumers have changed their behavior.
Yep, so we have seen a nice jump on solds and our under contracts really jump from December to January. Not as much January to February, and a little bit of that is, of course, the rates and what we're hearing out there, but it is the spring buying market, so you still want to be out in front of these things. Look at the green line of inventory. It's just a nice little snapshot. We see the blue line going up, the red line going up, and the green line is flat. Inventory is going to be an issue this year.
Absolutely. Inventory is up year over year about 8%. So a little bit more inventory than last year, but under contracts are up like 16%. So more buyers than sellers in the marketplace right now. And it's kind of where we're headed. So let's look at it by sub-market because all markets are not created.
Absolutely. And so when we're looking at our sub-markets, interestingly, what markets have more inventory and which ones less? We can look at Lafayette and Longmont. They are down big time in inventory compared to this time last month. And even year over year for Longmont, they're even down a little bit. And that's a really factor of cost and price. But outside of really Longmont and Niwot year over year, we have a lot more inventory on the market. It's just where is it and what price points?
Yep. And detached versus attached is a little different here. So we'll show you both of them. I think the big thing to remember is most of the markets, Superior, Erie, Boulder, Lafayette, they're all up 30%. Big inventory increases, but it's also because so many people have been sitting on the sideline for so long. They're just getting frustrated, right? Mm-hmm. But they also see light at the end of the tunnel, right? The good news is everyone's like, well, this is a year, things are going to get better. So people are taking that as okay, well, let's start looking at this, right? So the difference between attached and detached, Tucker, what's going on?
Well, and we can see attached has quite a bit more on the market available, and it's also growing at a faster pace overall. Now, when we look month over month, places like Louisville and Lafayette, several deals can really kind of shift it because they just don't have a lot of attached product out there. But when we look at Boulder and especially Longmont and Superior, where Superior has a good amount of attached, but really Boulder and Longmont are the two hubs of attached product.
Right.
We're up a lot. We have a lot more active inventory month over month and plus year over year.
Plus the townhouses out in Lafayette, they're looking like there's a lot of that coming on the market right now.
Yeah.
But the big thing here is keep in mind why people would buy detached or attached versus detached. It's really price sensitive, right? So these attached product are usually going to move a little bit more when you've forced all these buyers down into lower price ranges because of the cost of money. So over the last year, it really has favored just slightly better than the detached in many ways. Now, what does this really mean? All right. Let's talk about that.
Let's balance this out. And so this is where we talk to that month supply of inventory. It's that relationship between how many things are going under contract versus how much inventory is out there on the market. And what we can do is when we look in that lower left, we can see we're at just about 2 months of inventory right now in February. Wow, about the same as last year, way better than it was in 21 and 22.
Yep.
What does that mean? So we're not really in a balanced market quite yet. And it's still shifted, not even close. And it's still shifted buyer favored. Even though with the lack of inventory, it's still buyer shifted because of the cost of money. But we really want to look at our submarkets. And what I really want to point out here is Erie and Louisville and Longmont are moving a lot faster. So it's going to feel a little bit like a different market. Not necessarily days on market.
Those are like the seller favorite markets, right?
Yeah, so it's better
if you
to
get
sell.
multiple offers and you're in there competing with people expected in those markets, you get into a Boulder or a Superior market, it's going to feel a lot more like the buyers are favored, right?
Yeah.
So even though this is a spring market, this is where now we're in March, things are picking up, buyers are active, sellers are active. There's more on the market, but it only takes 2 markets to have a competitive situation or 2 offers, right? So 2 offers in a Louisville or an Erie or a Longmont is going to be a very different situation at $500,000 or $600,000 than a Boulder house with 3 months of inventory at $1.5 million, right? So these markets are very different. We really need to look into the nuances. The pace of the markets is very different too. I mean, when you get into that Louisville market and it's under 30 days, it probably feels like it's the middle of summer or spring, right?
Yeah.
They're moving quickly, but the bulk of the markets are moving a little bit slower. So you can see average days in MLS takes about 2 months to go under contract. Those hot markets, much faster.
Absolutely. And we still see some of the lingering homes out there from back in November and December when it was really slow. A lot of them were taken off, put back on, and reset the days on market. Some of them weren't. So that's why we have some pretty high numbers on these days on market for these sub-counties, especially Longmont. Don't use that as an actual number. Do not bank on that. Do not assume that you're going to have 98 days on market on average when you're shopping houses.
Well, especially when they trend down from now
Yes,
through May or June. Expect that this data is always really lagging. So 53 days here is more like 30 days in the market.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. It's actually moving faster than what some of this is showing.
All right, so price point, this is the one that's really exciting. If only Tucker would move his big head out of the way, we could actually see what's going on.
You just want me that much closer, huh?
That's what it is. All right, so the most important thing here is the market's moving in different places than it was this time last year. A lot of the people sitting on the sidelines that were in that 800 to maybe 2 million range, they are actually out shopping. Mm-hmm. Those were our trade ups. You saw a big surge of those in the first 2 months. So this is exciting. Hopefully it's really helping you guys.
And this is where we've really been hurting was that upper 800, so that more that 900 up to that 1.5 million. That wasn't moving last year, where generally that is where our inventory is.
Yeah, in Boulder County, this is such a big piece of the pie that when it shut down completely, it really created some issues. But 150% increase from 1.5 to 2 million, and most of those are still taking loans.
And that's huge. And then really nice, something that I just found was interesting, I calculated this out earlier. We literally have almost the same number of properties over $1 million and under $1 million in Boulder County. So, and that's attached and detached. Unreal. So just put that into the back of your head when you're shopping. Hey, half of the inventory is above or below 1 million is kind of that break point. Now, what we see in the upper end of the market, oh my gosh, luxury is still doing really well. And we're also seeing some of that area where, that 2 to 3 million is actually picking up some steam compared to last year, which is a good sign. And it's keeping pace for the most part as we look at it, but it's really that ultra luxury is still moving. So that side of the market really never slowed down. So it might take longer to sell because there's more houses out there. But those solds are coming through. So that's a good sign for the ultra luxury market here in Boulder County.
So we've kind of been talking about this slide already, but basically look at that under $1 million mark, like Tucker was talking. That's a very much seller favorite market, right? It should see a few bidding wars. It really doesn't matter too much on which market they're in. They are going to be tight. Now, all those ones, especially up to that 2.5, 3, 5, 8 million, right? Those are going to be a lot more inventory in the market. They might take a little bit longer to sell. It's going to take a real picky buyer. But
that's how it always is. But it's still moving.
Totally. And actually, in 3+ million, we're getting back to a more normalized market. We usually see 12 to 18 months here in this county, and we're back to 11.3 months of inventory. Last month was only like 7. So many people pulled stuff off for the holidays that we really saw that shrink. But lots coming back on market. The days on market here, though, everything's going to speed up. Watch that happen. When you're talking to your clients about this, just get them to expect that the median is way shorter than the average.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel faster paced because we're moving into spring.
And it is. And it will be, especially in those lower price points.
Especially. Yeah. Okay. So average sales price, this is the hard one to talk about. So we give you this slide because of the trailing 12-month percentage change. And the reason we give you that is because that is an average of the last year, right? It's basically saying what happened in the last year versus the previous year. In Boulder County, it bounces around quite a bit because of these luxury sales and $300,000 condos. And we're just a big dynamic market. So you get too many of one or the other. It swings it a month to month look. So when you look at trailing 12 month, all of Boulder County dropped by 1% in the last year. So the market favored really well in a really, really hard market.
Yeah.
Now, the city of Boulder, 0, right? It was flat. So I think it's really important to understand that that's why people buy real estate in Boulder County, because in the city of Boulder or Boulder County, it's very resilient to the ups and downs of the market. Now, when we get increases, we get big increases, and then we get these nice plateaus.
And so what are you going to share to your buyers out there? What are you going to say when you're talking strategy and what's going on in the market and they're asking these really hard questions? You go, we are a stable market. Even though last year was the worst year we've had in a while, and that November, December period was the bottom of the multi-year cycle for our real estate cycle. That was the absolute bottom. Well, things are picking back up. And if we only lost 1% as a county for year over year and averages of averages, that's not bad at all. And if we're already picking up steam like we are right now, the inventory shortage we're seeing, it's a really good sign for where people are buying and the confidence going forward. So that's what you can portray with these kind of slides, is take some of this out and say, this is where we're going. This is where we've been, but this is where we're going. As we hit the bottom, and that bottom only went down 1%.
Yeah,
And that's for detached. That
that's
was
for
for
detached.
detached.
So here's attached. Attached is a little bit worse than the detached market, but also keep in mind the city of Boulder looks really awful here, but it's largely due to a change in the type of product coming to market. We had a ton of really cool stuff get built that got sold in 2022 and into 2023. So now in the last 12 months, it looks like it's down 10%. A condo price is not down 10%.
If you're going and buying a $2 million house 3 years ago, well, it's really competitive. There's not a lot of inventory. Well, now if you're going to buy a $2 million house, hey, I have the option of any detached I want or any attached I want.
Yeah, so it's
a lot more options, especially at those higher price points. So we're kind of throwing off in the composition of sales. But as a person who owns attached, it doesn't feel like we've slid that much. I have some attached here in Boulder looking at comps. Doesn't feel like we're sliding really. And if anything, we're kind of building back up because it's the affordable price band. What can people afford here in town?
Exactly. All right, so here's your healthy dose of optimism for the day. I like this sold unit slide. If you're going to put a video out or talk to clients about it, this is a good one to show. Hey, it's really time for us to get in the market now before we get priced out, before prices start to go up, or just so it's not so competitive. Because look at this. This is very different than Denver, right? This is very different than a lot of the surrounding areas. Year over year, Boulder County people went to market 50% increase in sold units in February, right? People came out of the gate at a full-on sprint this year, which is great because that's back to the markets that we're used to seeing. It was abysmal a year ago. Mm-hmm. So that being said, this looks really optimistic. It's not going to stay 50% increase, but we absolutely have seen a healthy bump in sales, and this is really, really optimistic, right? That's why I keep using that word. We need to show that because what you're hearing in the national markets and what's going on with the Fed and inflation's still high and yada, 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 they need some reality of what's happening in the real estate here. And this is what's happening. People are actually purchasing homes.
Yep. And so when we see this is a good sign. We'd love to see it. Expand this going forward. Hey, this is how busy we are in February where rates are where they are. What's going to happen when rates do come down in that June or May window, or maybe even at worst come to August? What is going to happen then? And so you can keep sharing that with your folks. No one has a crystal ball in rates, but we do know when the rates drop, it's going to get a heck of a lot more competitive. We just don't know when.
Right. If the MBA is correct, they said Q4 should be similar to Q2. Now, we'll see how close that is depending on when the Fed decides to start making actions. But if there are 3 Fed rate drops in this year, it will get busier as the year goes on because all that's going to do is create that market confidence. So it's so important to use this marketing now and get people to start getting off the fence ahead of time so they actually can get to market before everybody else.
Yeah.
All right, last slide.
This is our favorite slide. Really what we're looking at here is our percent sold to list price. This doesn't take into account seller concessions or things of that nature. Or, hey, what the start price was on the MLS before what you actually went under contract for. So this is what it went under contract and what it sold for. We're looking at 98.55. That's still a really strong market. Now, where we're really going to see a difference is at that $1 million mark again. Below, we're in 98 really plus, 97 in that
really
lower range.
$1.5 million here.
But really $1.5 million even and under. It's competitive. Expect to be having more full price offers. Or if you're on the buy side, which you're helping your clients do, you're going to be putting in stronger offers. You're not going 10, 20% under market, right?
Set those expectations that those concessions are really going away at most places. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while you might be able to sneak in a little $5,000 concession or something. But in all reality, we're getting back to full strength of the market.
And sellers
will be bidding wars by May again in a lot of markets.
Sellers aren't afraid to hit the market again. Right now, they're not afraid to go back to market. It's not like in the fall.
Exactly.
Where they'll do anything not to go back to the market. So then your negotiating power is probably diminished a little bit. We also have more inventory. Now, if you're over that $1.5 million, ask for anything you want.
I don't know.
I hope y'all are doing loans in the $1.5 million plus market. I really hope so. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, especially if they've been sitting on the market for a little while.
Tell them what you want.
Really are
tell them what you want.
Giving away a lot. Now, when you're setting expectations, the reason we show this slide out from 21 to current is that 21 and 22 years are the unicorn years, right? We will not get back to that point. The average home is not going to sell for 5% or 10% over asking price, but some will, right? So when you're in a Louisville market in a really cool spot and a really buttoned up house, and it's the best house on the market, and you're bidding with a client on it, they might actually be paying over what the market rate is. But that's a very niche product. Yeah. So when you're hearing about bidding wars, certain bidding wars are really extreme, and other bidding wars we're talking $5,000 to $10,000 over asking price, but they're still over asking price.
Or so even just better terms. I've heard that a few times now of just, hey, they're similar, not even a money issue, it's better terms.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just keep an eye on that stuff. Of course, if you have any questions, Anthony and myself are here to help. This is Tucker Brock with Land Title.
This is Anthony with Land Title. We'll catch you on the next video.